On the docket, case number 22523 MM.
Ms. Dixon, good morning.
Good morning.
Ms. Dixon, I believe in this case, according to the notes, you were released from the jail for medical reasons,
Yes, sir.
and you were instructed to bring medical records today to show your.
Informed to bring anything when I got.
Say that again.
I was informed to bring anything up here when I
Well,
got.
there's a letter with your signature on it which says you must bring medical records.
I remember doing it.
Okay, you didn't bring any medical records. Where were you at in your sentence when you got to medical release?
96 days.
96 days.
Of 180.
180.
Okay, but where was she at as far as tentative release date due to trustee status?
Well, she had served 83 days before she pled, so it'd been 13 days possible, you know. So
Ms. Dixon, you're going to be taken into custody to finish your sentence, but I'd like to see your medical status because obviously I gave you a medical furlough for some reason. But if you don't bring your medical records like you're instructed and signed
I
for,
didn't know I had to bring any.
ma'am, here's a notice right here. Is that not your signature on it?
Judge, I can ask her a few questions.
Sure.
She was, she was in a hospital. She's got a blood disease, if you remember.
I don't remember at all.
So what was that blood disease? Sickle cell anemia, Your Honor. So she was getting transplants with blood during the time. So I suspect she probably was not completely coherent. What has happened since that point in time, since you had your blood transfusions?
Everything's been good and fine.
You think everything's back to normal now? Your doctors have released you and they said, okay, you ready to finish up this last, hopefully 45 days of jail?
And if you had 3 days left, I would ask the state what their position was. But if you've got 45 days left, that's a different. I didn't know how much time you have left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you into custody. Your medical furlough is going to be ending, but I want to see it first appearance tomorrow because I want to know exactly how much time you have left and how close you are to completing your sentence. And I also want them to give me a medical update. But you've got to finish your sentence, or I've got to have a good reason for you not to. And you didn't bring your medical records. I don't know.
I didn't know to do.
It's okay. Ms. Dixon, given the status you're at, given the status of the portion of your sentence that you've served, you've got a lot of your sentence left to serve, but I need some more information. So I will see you at first appearance in the morning, okay? So she can be taken into custody, and I'll see her tomorrow.
Welcome back to Time Served, the channel that scans the docket so you don't have to. There are many horrible things in this world, and when a child is born with medical issues, it's heartbreaking. However, in Judge Stevens' courtroom today, a mother has turned on the tears, and I quote, "a hopeless performance on probation, failed to report time after time, and her actual crime is theft of service that totals over $20,000 of about $200 paid back." Then, in our second case, we have a gentleman that has charges that I cannot even repeat during this intro.
You failed to provide
And all I have to say is Judge Stevens claims his moral compass is so out of whack that he's at a loss for words. And if you know anything about Judge Stevens, this behavior from both of these defendants will not fly. So let's see what the judge decides in these interesting cases. Don't forget to like and subscribe and set your notifications to all and never miss these Jefferson County crybabies.
You completed it.
Let's roll, nerds.
Is that right from probation?
I haven't received.
20-35869 is now called. You are Sabra Adriana Shivers with Mr. Adams, your attorney, and the state's attorney. We have two matters here. One is in 23-5869, a motion to revoke probation where you were placed on probation for a Class A theft. And then there's another motion to revoke probation in 21-37289 where you were placed on sentenced to 2 years in the state jail, which was suspended, and you were placed on 5 years probation for theft of services. Each of these probations out of this court occurred on January 31st, 2022. Does the defendant waive formal readings of these motions? Can we proceed in summary?
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that any statements you make today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Lower your hand. Is it true that on each of these cases, again, put them in numerical sequence here, 20-35869, that, and on 21-37289, you were placed on probation for thefts in this court on January 31st, 2022. And on 35869, you were placed on 1 year. You were sentenced to 1 year in the county jail, probated for 1 year for Class A theft. Is that true? And in 37289, you were sentenced to 2 years in the state jail, probated for 5 years for state jail felony of theft of services. Is that true? On each of these cases, allegation one, in each case, states you failed to report properly to the probation officer, to the Jefferson County Probation Office, and that you failed to report properly on April 18th, May 2nd, May 30th, June 7th, June 14th, and July 11th of 2023. Is that true and correct in each case?
Yes.
Number two states you failed to provide verification performing community service hours as required. Is that true?
Yes.
In 21-37289, number three states you failed to provide verification of completing the theft prevention class. Is that as required? Is that true?
It is, sir, but I did complete it. I'll just,
You completed it?
yes, sir.
Is that right from probation?
I haven't received it.
I had turned it into Miss Riggs, but didn't
I mean,
turn it into her.
Okay, and the other is number three in 35869 and allegation 4 in 37289 similarly allege that you failed to pay assessed fees in each case, and you are $2,659 in arrears in 35869 and $7,502 in arrears in 37289. Is that true in each case?
Yes.
Or is there restitution in any of these?
Yes, sir, in both cases. Believe the restitution order for 35869 was in the amount of $2,323.24. And
It was how much?
$2,323.24.
What was that?
I believe this is for rentals, Judge. That's typically what
Well,
we're,
automobile?
yes, sir. I believe so.
Okay.
And then
And the other
in
one
the
was, looks like
37289,
another automobile.
yes, sir. And the restitution in that case is significantly higher. It's $19,693.67.
Wow. Okay. Let me see what. Where was the car ever? It was a Jeep. Was that ever returned?
It was, I rented it for somebody and they wrecked it, but they did get the vehicle back.
Correct.
But because it was they did get it, yes, but that's one, but it's self-violent, but I never even stepped foot in the vehicle.
And let's see, the other one is, let's see, didn't return the vehicle, Hyundai. What about that one?
They got that back. Yes, they did.
28289, you rented the vehicle for 1 day on October 15th. Whatever happened on that one? The last thing I show on the probable cause, it was missing for 118 days. And
Is that in 237289?
Yes.
That was the vehicle that was damaged.
When did they get the vehicle back?
I believe they found it. Judge, let me look at the post report here.
There is no agreement on these cases, correct?
No, we're going to you, Judge. And I was gonna put on evidence of what.
Okay, hold on. While y'all are figuring that out, tell me on the money situation. Did she ever pay anything to probation?
So she's paid a total of $148 on 37289. And then on 35869, she's paid $25.
And so she's been on probation for almost 2 years, right?
One. 1 year, because I think it was January 2022. Well,
Yeah, 2 comes right after the 1 in numerical sequence here. And so
You're right.
2 years,
Yes, sir.
about 2 years. And that's the sum total, 100 and some odd dollars.
I had just had a baby when we got out.
You're going to get a chance to explain. All right, there is no agreement here on these cases. So go ahead, defense. You may go forward.
All right, so when you got on probation, right? You remember getting on probation? And when you first got on probation, I think you informed me when we met that for the first 3 months, you did not have a probation officer.
No, for the time that it's saying that I didn't report, it's not the probation officer. She quit. But me and her had agreed, because when I got out of jail, I was pregnant.
Gotcha.
And she gave me number. I had my son 10 days after I got out of here,
Mhm.
when they threw me out on probation. And my my probation officer agreed until, because he was sick and I couldn't put him in daycare, until I could put him in daycare, get a job and put him in daycare. Or put him in daycare so I could get a job that I could pay the minimum when I would go on the report, as long as I passed my drug test and I stayed there to do community service, that I could pay the minimum until I could get my son in daycare, because I'm a single mother. And then once I got to working and I was gonna catch up on my fees with my income tax. And once I started working, then I would be able to pay my back. That was our agreement. And then she quit.
Okay,
So now it shows that I
who was this
didn't.
person that was your
Karen
probation
Riggs.
officer?
Karen Riggs.
So what you're saying is that when you initially started your probation, you had Karen Riggs.
And
You were reporting, everything was
My
fine.
drug tests were clean. I
Drug
done
tests
my community service when I was going to see her, and I paid, she said I had to pay a minimum of $25 to $30. Every time I would go, I would pay it, and she knew that.
How many times did you go?
For a whole year, or until, by a year and a half I went.
A year and a half or 18 months you went? So that should have been for 18 times 25. We should have received $450 from her in payments. What did we receive? She says, you just looked at me and say you pay 25 a month.
I didn't pay every month.
You know, that was the inference. You know it and I know it.
25. She made one $25 to 35869, and then 140 on 370.
So that was a catch up.
See, she's made 2 payments. Is that right?
Several payments on 37289. She made 6 payments towards that.
Sir?
About 6 payments towards that.
How much?
And the total amount, when you add all that together, is 150, not 450. That would have been 25 a month, like you tried to tell me.
But I guess the question is that during that time period, what was the reason that you didn't have the extra money?
I didn't.
Here, battery's dying.
And
They
then,
wouldn't, so they didn't take care to take my stuff, it was all right to work.
okay, now when you say that your son is sick,
He has first one disease.
I got you. And Judge, I actually said again, so she can hear.
Again,
Hirschman's disease.
he's been takes his children on and on, when they got it corrected. Now, we had to have surgery, but I wasn't able to put him in any daycares because of his illness, and he was back and forth to take the children. So I wasn't able to get a job at the time.
I think, Judge, that was verified in the administrative hearing on July 11th, 2023, where it mentions and gives something about the Texas Children's Hospital. It should be noted, the defendant does have a child with specific medical needs that I can't see that involve her traveling to Texas Children's Hospital. Now,
Okay.
so she had those issues.
Oh, you're crying and weeping, but wait, when did your child receive that
He was born,
diagnosis? Oh,
he was born with.
when was that? When was he born?
February of 2022. 10 days after I got put on probation is when I had him. I was in jail for my pregnancy. On these charges.
So, I'm sorry. What was the date that,
February 10th, 2022 is when I had my son. I was put on probation January 31st, 2022. I had my son 10 days after I got out of jail.
So with your drives to Texas Children with your son with that illness, did you have extra money after you,
I didn't,
and were you employed?
no, at the time, but now he's better now and I can put him in daycare. He's in daycare now because they don't have
Also,
to
Texas Children, how was that paid?
for Medicaid
So basically you had government assistance with Medicaid.
and my rent and all of that because I
So you
couldn't
was
go
getting
back
free
to
rent
work.
too.
Mhm.
So you was getting free rent, you was getting subsidized Medicaid. I'm quite sure the bills from Texas Children be super high, right?
It still has bills from the children, but Medicaid, so I mean,
So when you look at being unemployed, super high medical bills for your kid that you couldn't afford, you have subsidized rent, which is your housing. I guess you get food stamps. Do you get food stamps? So you got food stamps, and then you say you was in college?
I was in college until I got locked up, man.
Okay, so with all that being the case, is that your reason for only making one? You said about I forgot the numbers.
Yes.
100 something. So did you pay what you could?
I paid everything I could and I agreed to turn over my income tax.
when was time served on this?
I'm supposed to get.
156,
something.
I'm sorry?
156.
Mhm. So at the end of the day, when you look at your financial situation, you're doing pretty bad. All right. So you're asking for it not to send you to prison because one, you got that little baby with special needs. And I'm not familiar with the diagnosis, so I can't speak to that. But that diagnosis, I'm assuming is pretty important, right? And are you asking for mercy from the court with what's going on in your life?
Yes.
Well, who's the father?
He's,
You don't know who the
I
father is?
know who he is, but he's never been there.
Hmm.
He's never been there.
Sir,
He's
ma'am?
never been there.
He said, well, no,
He must have been there long enough for you to get pregnant though.
About that.
I mean, that was
That's
a
about-
choice y'all. All right. Wow, it's a series of bad choices that we're
Yes,
talking
sir.
about here.
Yes, sir.
But
It's the same
if,
person. that I
you know,
rented from.
everybody makes bad choices from time to time. So there's been a consistent pattern here with you, and it's just costing people now thousands and thousands of dollars. You're supposed to take care of your problems
Yes.
yourself. You're not. What state? Let me ask probation office first while you're thinking about that. How would you rate her performance on probation?
So when I got hired,
But based upon, and I know you're very good at reviewing the history when you get cases, and probation officers, it's not unusual for there to be some transference in and out of the probation office, but what's the sum total of these files show?
Below average.
Mhm.
The fees are concerning.
Which is hopeless.
And
And the way she's explaining this, the prognosis is hopeless.
and also the failure to report is a major concern
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, that's something you have to do, but meanwhile, and you're not telling me the truth about the money. You have to do the math. It didn't come out the way you tried to explain it. But at this rate, what's the total amount of restitution for those two cases?
For 3728 shields, $19,668.
Yeah, almost $20,000.
I only have the one.
And then 35869 shields, a total of $2,299.
About 23,000, right at $23,000, for which 200 and some odd dollars has been paid for. Okay. Everybody else is going to have to pay. Others goes rentals for cars go up, insurance for cars go up. People who have insurance and pay, we all pay for the increase. We have to rent a car, we have to pay for your mess at the end of the day. And the prognosis is bleak. What's that suggesting?
Well, I think the problem I have, Judge, is just the failure to report is that, at the end of the day, that essentially, if you don't show up, then it's virtually impossible to get any of the other probation terms and conditions satisfied.
Let him finish, and then you can not interrupt. See, you just don't follow just basic rules of etiquette, much less the rules of probation. And we learned this when we were little children. Don't interrupt. Let everybody be heard. Don't speak over each other. You can't take, the important thing is the court reporter can't take things down when two people are speaking. And the law that governs even me, if the court reporter isn't doing her job, everybody involved with preventing her to do her job get in trouble. I don't want to be in trouble.
I think that if I were looking at it from the amount of loss, it would be on the higher side. If I'm looking at it from the actual facts of the offense, excluding the amount of loss, and then also her personal situation with her child, then it would be on the lower side. So I guess it depends on which one the court weighs more.
So quantify it to a number.
What credit did she have?
156.
156.
5 months.
I think 9 months. She's not done any significant time before. And I think that would be fair. But again, I'm weighing the two counter opposing interests in the case.
All right, anything else?
Are you begging the girl for some mercy?
Yes.
All right, here's what I'm going to find is, if nothing further, in 235869, there's a motion to revoke probation in that misdemeanor where you were placed sentenced to 1 year in the county jail, probated for 1 year. Help me out on this. This doesn't make any sense. It says on January 31st of 2022, the defendant was placed on 1 year probation. this motion to revoke was not filed until October of 23.
Judge, I don't think that's when the administrative hearing that would have prompted us to file the motion would occur.
What do you say? Something looks wrong, doesn't it, to you? 131.22. 131.22. I mean, wasn't she off probation on this misdemeanor? Or not? Does anybody notice that but me? Come on. I mean, that's the elephant in the room here.
I see what you're saying, Judge. I think
Her
I was
probation
mostly-
would have ended January 30th of 23. This motion is filed on October 4th. I don't see any reason that holds that. Does anybody see it?
there was a 24-month extension in both of these. And that would have been,
Okay. Well, it couldn't be a 24-month extension. Not on a misdemeanor. You can
I
only
think-
be on probation for 2 years, right?
I think the fact that that was a misdemeanor kind of threw a kink in things, Judge. Maybe the appropriate way to do this is just to proceed on the state jail probation.
Does it show that she was continued for 1 year?
It does show.
What was the date on that? Was there an order by the court?
Yes.
What was it?
17th day of January of 23 for 24 months.
Okay.
In both cases?
It was for 20, so it was changed from 1 year to 2 year. So so it looks like. Trying to find that.
And that looked like it was only done in one.
Yeah, that's all it needed to be, really. But let me just say. I don't see it in here. Do we show
Would it be on the other side?
documents that can, that,
I don't see it on the docket sheet.
doesn't say anything, it's just in, doesn't just say it was continued on the,
I'll make a copy of this for your file, Judge.
I have it. On the second side of that. I did it this one. But it's 2 years. Not one.
Well, what's the length, what's the length of probation on a misdemeanor is only 2 years, isn't it? Okay, this is extended 24 months from 1/30/123 to 1/30/25. That can't be right.
2 years is the maximum length. However, it can be extended beyond that, and I'd have to check the statute to figure out if what that.
I don't know.
It can be extended, Judge. Or term. Even the max of that is 5 years of extension.
And that's consistent
Well,
with my understanding.
nonetheless, this was filed within 2 years of her probation term.
As long as it's filed timely before she expires.
Okay, thank you. All right, on 235869, this court finds that there is sufficient evidence granting this motion to revoke probation to grant it by a preponderance of the evidence or greater. As allegations 1 and 2 have been proven true, and the defendant's probation in that misdemeanor is revoked, and she is sentenced to 1 year in the county jail with credit for time she has served. In 21-37289, this court finds, and by the way, what I'm going to do is continue on the second one, the felony. But the probation, the restitution on this misdemeanor is going to be, that $2,293 is going to be transferred over into this felony, as I'm going to continue her on probation here in 21-37289, where you were sentenced to 2 years in the state jail, probated for 5 years. I find allegation 1 and 2 have been proven true, as you pleaded true voluntarily, knowingly, intelligently. And that is enough to grant this by a preponderance of the evidence or greater, as in the previous case. Those findings apply to the previous case as well, where I revoked your probation and sentenced you to 1 year in the county jail. Even though there's enough to revoke you on this case and sentence you up to 2 years in the state jail, I'm going to hold this motion in further action in abeyance. You will continue on probation. You must pay an additional $2,293 from the 35869 case will be transferred over toward fees and accruals and other terms and conditions of probation you must follow. And you will continue probation on that case. Do you understand? Anything else?
The state jail case is 37289, Judge, right?
Yes.
The probation's going to submit an order modifying the.
Is this fast enough for you?
Yes.
And the defendant shall sign there, and that will be done.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. On Langston, is there anything else?
That's it.
That's it for you? I have, Kevin?
As we start the next clip, just a quick background. He was scheduled for the first case on the docket, and he was late. So I'm going to show you Judge Stevens' reaction when he actually approaches the bench the first time. Then I'll fast forward to his actual court appearance later on in the day. Here we go.
You're late. The warrant is issued for your arrest. Really? Really? I mean, sexual assault of a child, prostitution, online solicitation of a minor. You're charged with those very serious, and you're ambling in late. Really? That's the way you take care of your business? That's what you think about in the importance of these cases? Well, that's why a warrant has been issued, and you're in timeout right now until we can get back to you here in a little bit. Okay? Failure is not an option. Thank you. It could be, but unless you were injured severely or an alien kidnapped you, and you're on Mars, this is simple. So, Mr. Adams? Okay, where's Mr. Solomon? Come on up. Who is his attorney? Brian Gertz, we'll have to call him. You have failed your drug test. You have tested positive for methamphetamine and amphetamine. Your bond is revoked, and zero bond. You must have a drug patch as a you will have to have a drug patch. I'm going to have a hearing on this when we can get Mr. Gertz, and we'll take up the issue on what bond conditions, if any, or matters that would be the court would be willing to consider. And this was off the trial docket. So we're going to get this straight for the record. You were coming in here for a trial today, and you're testing positive for methamphetamine and amphetamine. And I can guarantee you, sir, that your moral compass is out of whack. If you feel like this is the way you should handle something important like trials, which are of sexual assaults of children, prostitution, and online solicitation of minor, you handled your responsibility. He tested positive for meth, amphetamine, and his bonds are revoked. And
Your Honor,
no, don't talk to me. Talk to him before you start. This is a scientific test.
I don't deny.
And all right, you really have to work on handling your responsibilities and issues more so like an adult should. Okay.
Things happen in life. I slept up.
All right. And I'll put it on a hearing for later, but right now, no bond on a trial docket day when you're testing positive. What were his bonds originally?
50,000 on each case.
50,000 on each one. All right, put this on Wednesday.
This one, see?
Yeah, can we, for a bond, hearing, a hearing on bond. When can you be available?
I'll be here in another hearing on Wednesday.
Okay, we'll pick this up. We'll bring him back on Wednesday so that we'll get out of his system. We'll be, because we're not gonna release him out anywhere while he's testing positive. All right. That's on that.
Your Honor, I used it.
Now, talk to him. Okay, the next is that's Mr. Son, Leroy Holden. Leroy Holden.